Hello, and welcome to Building Leadership Community. I'm your host, Coach Dora. In today's pre-recorded episode of Building Leadership Community, Minnesotan Todd Hanson explores perseverance when confronting obstacles in entrepreneurship, innovation, and invention. Before we start today's episode, I need to address what's happening in Minnesota right now. Minneapolis has become ground zero for the criminalization of peaceful protests. Cell phone video witnesses are facing arrest for documenting what's happening. We've lost Renee Good and Alex Peretti, who become martyrs for bearing witness. Leadership isn't just about what we do when things are comfortable. It's about what we do when our values are tested. This is not abstract. This is happening now to real people. I can't teach about courage and moral clarity while staying silent. So here's what I'm asking. First, educate yourself about what's actually happening in Minnesota. Second, have conversations. Don't let this moment pass in silence. Third, if you're able, support the people on the ground. I'm sharing a Stand With Minnesota donation directory. It's a vetted resource with organizations providing legal support, bail funds, and medical assistance. The link is in the show notes. Listen with Minnesota in mind, then take action. Check out the donation directory, standwithminnesota.com. Share it, show up. Now on to the show. Welcome back, amazing leaders, to another incredible episode of Season 3, Building Leadership Community Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Dora Mendez. Today we're diving into a conversation about innovation, perseverance, and the entrepreneurial journey from corporate America to creating something entirely new. Our guest took 21 years of business development expertise, combined it with a moment of frustration in the wilderness, and turned it into a patented solution that's now gaining national and international attention. From 19 prototypes to trade shows across the country, his story is a masterclass in problem solving, persistence, and purpose driven leadership. Our Season 3 guest is entrepreneur, inventor, and founder of Compass Cards LLC, Todd Hanson. By the end of this conversation, you will walk away with insights on how to turn obstacles into opportunities, the courage to pivot from stability to startup life, and a powerful reminder that innovation begins when you refuse to accept the status quo. This episode is a reminder to build boldly, strategically, and with the conviction that your idea matters. So settle in, take a breath, and get ready for our incredible guest. Hello, and welcome to Building Leadership Community Podcast. I'm your host, Dora Mendez. I am the founder and CEO of Coach Dora LLC. Our guests will be entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders that drive social impact. It can be lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be. Hello. I am so thrilled that you come back week after week to join us for these conversations on Season 3 of Building Leadership Community Podcast. It can be lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be. That's exactly why we started this podcast. If you are new to Building Leadership Community, we are so glad you are here. Please like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Say hi in the comments. We read every single one and we respond to every single one. When we have some great resources, we love to share them. So today we're sharing what you've been thinking about. What of our most FAQs, frequently asked questions? Have you been starting or thinking about starting your own podcast? Check out our mini course, The Entrepreneur's Podcast Blueprint. I've partnered with my husband and co producer Dylan Rogers to create 5 easy to follow video modules, along with a workbook that you can download and follow along at your own pace. And yes, get a very handy AI prompt sheet that will make getting your episode out there into the world a breeze. The link is in the description. Season 3 is rolling along with more powerful conversations. So let's get to it. Let me tell you about our guest, Todd Hanson. He is the president and founder of Compass Carts, a Rochester, Minnesota based company specializing in innovative utility carts. But his journey to entrepreneurship is what makes his story so compelling. After spending over 21 years in business development at Wells Fargo Home Mortgage, Todd experienced a pivotal moment during a challenging hunting trip in Whitewater State Park at the end of 2018. That frustration sparked an idea, and Todd didn't just complain about the problem, he solved it. He invented the patented Compass cart, an aluminum utility cart that attaches to any 2-inch vehicle receiver hitch, making it easy to load and unload gear for outdoor activities like hunting, camping, fishing, biking, and boating. After developing 19 prototypes, yes, you heard that right. 19. Todd launched the product in November of 2023. Since then, the campus cart has gained traction at US trade shows with growing interest in Canada and Europe. Todd also combines his entrepreneurial spirit with a deep commitment to supporting military veterans through partnerships like Camp Southern Ground. Today, Todd is here to share his leadership journey, his lessons from the trenches of entrepreneurship, the mindset it takes to go from idea to impact. Season 3 continues right now, and we can't ask for a more inspiring entrepreneur to join us than the innovative Todd Hanson. Let's bring him to the stage. Hi, Todd. Welcome.
Dora, hi. Glad to be here. This is exciting.
I'm excited too because I love your story. And I guess I want to share with the audience really quickly before I turn over the proverbial mic to you that the way we got connected through was your assistant, right? Found our
Mhm.
little show, and we met right away. We hit it off. I love everything that you're doing. I myself am a new entrepreneur. I started Coach Dora about almost, it's going to be 2 years, almost 2 years. And so I feel such a kinship with you in so many levels. My father was in the military, may he rest in peace, for 32 years.
Thank you for
I
the
just feel
service.
such a kinship with you and what you're doing. And I would love for you to share your unique, leadership story. How you went from Wells Fargo to inventor and entrepreneur.
Thank you. Yeah, it was quite a journey. It was. I'm sure many of your listeners have probably seen the show Shark Tank and watching all the pitches and stuff, and that was really a inspiration for me to take action. Right. Many of us have an idea, and a simple idea would be, wouldn't it be great if you've ever said that, you're probably on your way to either finding the product or maybe creating one yourself. And that's kind of how Compass Carts got started. We like you mentioned, we found a problem that we were having when we were out in the woods, and we came up with an idea and just said, hey, let's go for it.
It's funny you mentioned Shark Tank because as I was reading your bio, all I kept saying was, "Oh my God, this would make a great Shark Tank episode." But I'm glad you're here. I was like, I'm glad you're here with us. I'm glad you're here with us, and I hope I said so. And if folks who follow me, listen to the show, they know how obsessed I am with popular culture. So when you mentioned Shark Tank, that's exactly what I was thinking. So, um, could you just share just a little bit more about how, like when, I mean, obviously you had something happened, right? So can you
Right.
kind of tell us your like origin story? Like what was the real genesis for compass carts?
So we had this a game cart that we'd bring into the woods for either hauling our gear in or with any kind of Luxem game back out. And when we got back to the vehicle, we'd always have a rack. You've probably seen them with SUVs and trucks with this little rack on the back of your vehicle, hauling coolers and totes and all kinds of stuff. And so that's what we had as well. And my thought was, why can't that cart and that rack be one and the same? So after, like you mentioned, 19 different iterations of figuring out how it would work smoothly, we made it so that you can simply leave all your gear, all your cooler, your stuff right in your cart. And when you get back to your vehicle, you just slide it right on, like loading a boat on a trailer, and it lifts off the ground, so you're not trailering it on your vehicle. But that was the inspiration for it, and then it kind of blew up from there. Customers are asking for different things, like the ability to tow it behind an ATV or garden tractor or a bike, and so we're continuing to evolve based on our customer needs. But that's how we started, and it's haven't looked back. It's been fun.
That's amazing. I'm, you are our first inventor on the show. So I love
Okay,
this.
excellent.
So we always try to bring our listeners and our audience, new things. But something that we always go back to, and something that I find, one of the themes of the show is that sometimes it could be lonely. Like you really put yourself out there, you took a risk. So can you share with our listeners and viewers what community means to you?
Yeah, it's huge, especially as an inventor or anybody launching a new business. It's good to have a team around you, and getting getting negative feedback is good, right? So I've gotten feedback, and it makes you pause and think. So like the group around me, I've had everything from successful business, family members that have been in business to working with my patent attorney to the small business development, local organizations. I tell you what, there's help out there. You have to go out and find it, but there's definitely help, and I leverage them all the time. I'm 6 years into compass carts now, and it's common weekly that I'm reaching out to somebody to get some feedback. Even today, I was contacting one of my manufacturers to get some assistance on a design. So it's fantastic.
So community for you means a safe space to get feedback.
For me, yeah.
That's what it is
Yeah.
for you. So you kind of have your unofficial board of directors that you reach out to get feedback. And for
Yes.
you, the feedback can be negative, positive. You just need you need a community to give you some feedback. So you're not working in a vacuum. Is that do I
Mhm.
have it right there?
You do. And there's multiple different types of community, right? So communities can be solving a problem, but some of the community could be just bouncing ideas off of, and that's hard when you're a solo entrepreneur like yourself, Dora, where you want to come up with an idea and you want to be able to ask others about what you're planning on doing, and getting some feedback maybe before you launch, and having those trusted community around you that will give you honest feedback. A lot of people will give you encouragement, but what you need is the honest ones. You need both the positive, you need the negative too.
I like that. So yes, you're right. All right. That's what feedback is, right? It's kind of neutral, negative and positive. You want to hear it all, or else you can't make decisions.
Right.
Um, and so what I would love for you to share with our listeners and our viewers, um, what advice, what wisdom would you like to share with aspiring entrepreneurs? Maybe something you might have told your younger self.
You know, it's funny you asked that question, because I was just thinking about this the other day. And the number one piece of advice I can give somebody that's got an idea, whether it's launching a business or launching a podcast, like you mentioned, Dora, or inventing a product, is you have to start before you know everything, because you'll never know everything. Things change, and you're always learning. So don't wait till you know everything, because then the day will never come. get enough to where you're comfortable getting started. And once you get started, go for it. Just,
I love that. I love that. So that sounds like this similar advice my business coach gave me, which is, I'm a coach. I have coaches.
yeah,
So,
coaches are good.
um, and and it's move with imperfect action.
Yes.
Because if you
I
wait
love that.
till everything is perfect, you'll never go. Like, right? Like perfect is the end. You'll never get going. So I love when you say you can't know everything. You've got to, or else if you wait till you know everything, you won't. We'll just be sitting there.
Yeah. Because as soon as you think you got something figured out, you're going to get hit with, a regulation or, you know, something's going to happen outside your control. And you just have to learn to figure out what that is and how does that impact you. And then, kind of roll with it. Some, things that have been a challenge for me lately is just, dealing with things like tariffs. That's been a challenge for an entrepreneur. Importing and exporting regulations, those kinds of things are things you don't, well, I didn't plan on any of that when I first started. I didn't think that far out, but it doesn't take long to
But
learn.
even if you did, even if you were thinking about long term, there's no way you could have known.
No.
There's so many external things. So, I teach at a local college here, and we use this technique called SWOT analysis:
Yes.
strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. And
Yes.
the O and the T are things that are really beyond your control. You have to be ready for when opportunity strikes, and you also have to be ready for when there are threats. Like
Right.
opportunities and threats are sort of considered in the same category, where you have to be flexible and adaptable and continuously learn, so that when opportunity strikes, you know how to take advantage of it. And then when threats happen, you know how to protect yourself or navigate through it. And there are always going to be opportunities. There are always going to be threats. And there's no matter how much you plan, no matter how much far out you plan, there's no way you can predict those things. So
Yep.
I thank you for lifting that up,
Yep.
because whether you're an entrepreneur or a big corporation, there are always going to be things outside of your control, and it's just your attitude and the lens by which you approach
Right.
problem solving that's going to help you either take advantage of the opportunity or get through the threat.
Right. Well, look at the military. What is, going back to your father, what is it? It's improvise, adapt, and overcome. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yep. And that's entrepreneur right there. You're gonna always have to roll with changes. And this is where, like, your message, finding that community around you that, you can bounce ideas off of. And some of my best sounding boards are other small businesses that I work with on a regular basis. And we've become quite good friends with a number of them. And it's fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, Todd, so I'd love to leave the space open to you. What would you like to share about your business, what you're doing now? What offerings would you like our audience and listeners to take away from this conversation about you, your product, your business? I'd love for you to share.
No, thank you very much. Yeah. So Compass Carts is, we're evolving, we're growing. We've had recently, we just did a trade show at Las Vegas. So that's really boosted our not only stateside exposure, but international as well. And met some fantastic people and opportunities at the show. So when I talk about Compass Carts, the hard part, like on a podcast like this, is understanding when I say what Compass Carts does, it's hard to visualize it. So for those of you that are wondering, okay, what is Compass Carts? What does it do? Who would it be good for, whether it's myself or someone in my family? You want to go to like compasscarts.com, and you can actually see how it works and how it slides from, a cart onto your vehicle with a mated receiver hitch rack. But then we're growing. And so Dora, one of the things that I have heard so much lately, that customers are looking for a way to haul larger dogs behind like a bike or take them down to the beach or when they're doing their bike trails and stuff. So they want a kennel system for it because we're one of the larger carrier systems that can actually be towed behind a bicycle. And so that's been an interesting revolution in a purpose for compass carts that I never even thought of, that our customers are telling us about. So you really just got to listen to your customers. And that's, I'm just excited. I can talk about compass carts all day.
Yeah, but you know what's great about that, Todd? It is really an environmentally friendly way too. If you're talking about bicycles. So like, I bet you didn't even think like you were going to be doing something that's like very environmentally friendly,
No.
So that's like when you talk about sustainability, it's not just a trend. Like people are really, really wanting tools that are going to go with their bicycles, that are, low fuel. So this is also a potential way for you to contribute to that sustainability with respect to the environment, even though that might not have even been on your radar.
It wasn't. No, that wasn't. It wasn't a thought. It'd be interesting someday. I'll have to show you, Dora, my list of ideas, and when you're brainstorming the idea, all the crazy things. And I didn't. I mean, I left everything in there. I mean, I just let it go wild when I started designing and thinking about what compass carts could do. So
I have to tell you, Todd, like the stereotype of the inventor that I have in my head, this I'm aging myself, is Doc Brown from Back to the Future, like Christopher Lloyd, like with all those trinkets and all those crazy things, and like what do they call that machine, that the Goldberg machine, so like that's kind of like the stereotype in my head, like when I think of inventor. But really what an inventor is a problem solver. Really, someone who solves a problem and figures out how to solve a problem. And that's what you continue to do with campus carts. That's what you do, listening to your customers. And we're thrilled. We're just over the moon that you came and shared your story with us. I just can see, I can say I knew you because when you're big time and you're on Oprah's favorite things, don't forget to make sure that, us here on our little show gets a sample. But yeah, it's just wonderful what you're doing. I want to thank you for being here. And, I want folks to remember to like, share, and subscribe so you can continue to get great content. And I'm going to ask you, Todd, to hold on one moment. And thank you again for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It was it's fun.
You've been listening to Building Leadership Community. Watch on YouTube at Coach Dora M. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube at Coach Dora M. Visit me on the web at CoachDoraMendez.com. Hosted by me, Dora Mendez. Produced by Dora Mendez and Dylan Rogers. Graphics, editing, and sound mixing by Dylan Rogers.